During the 1980s, confraternities rapidly extended throughout the country to other institutions of higher learning. Left, right, and center, they sprang up.
There has been a lot of distortion of the original ideals of this student fraternity by other groups. The founders of these other groups, you will find, and you check from the record, were usually either those who'd been rejected by the Pyrates confraternity, their conduct simply did not qualify them, or else had been kicked out of the fraternity, or else simply wanted to set up similar associations on their own along certain very warped notions of what fraternities are about. And these cults,
because of their rivalry with one another, these groups kept watchful eyes on their perceived rivals while hiding their own identities and activities. It gradually changed the role and character of these campus fraternities from a responsibly open group to a secretive and sinister society that used code words, color symbols, and other sinister methods to conceal their identities from other members of the campus community. They established a command structure akin to militia groups. They became more confrontational, aggressive, and daring, and lethal in their quest for dominance over the other. Yet at this stage, conflict and violence were limited to fistfights and the occasional use of sticks and bottles on rare occasions. Nigerian military dictators saw an opportunity to employ confraternities to suppress student unionism in the 1980s and 1990s. Student unions were one of the many student-organized groups or bodies that resisted military rule. As a result, the confraternities became mercenary organizations for the government. They were offered money and weapons in exchange for harassing and threatening any student activists or university workers suspected of opposing the military junta. Following the military use of weapons and harsh tactics to intimidate university opponents, confraternities began to use the same weapons and harsh tactics against their rivals as they strove for dominance and supremacy. Furthermore, they were used by some lecturers and school authorities to intimidate students, student union members, and fellow faculty members. With time, reports surfaced of them harassing lecturers for excellent results for their members. The fact that they had the support of school officials because they assisted them in conducting their dirty work meant that they were shielded from discipline by the same school authorities whenever they were seen indulging in any type of illegal activity on campus. More confraternities were formed in our schools in the early 90s. They include the Second Son of Satan, Trojan Horse Confraternity, Jewish Confraternity, Gentlemen Club, Dreaded Friends of Friends, Supreme Burkina Faso Revolution Confraternity, and others. In the late 1990s, all-female fraternities began to appear. The most popular among them are the Black Brazier and the Vikings. Female confraternities acted as spies. They acquired information and smuggled weapons for their male confraternity friends. At this time, the activities of fraternities were increasingly transforming into cultism. We would have a better comprehension of this remark if we knew the definitions of the two terms, confraternity and cultism, because they are widely used interchangeably in Nigeria, despite the fact that they are two different words with different meanings. A confraternity is a group of men or women who have banded together for a shared cause or profession. Example of a confraternity is literary biographers. These people are writers who devote their careers to researching the lives of other writers and artists. Another example is a confraternity of old or retired soldiers who like to trade battle stories. On the other hand, a secret cult is an organization whose activities, events, Inner workings or membership are kept hidden from non-members. Cults are exploitative towards its membership. It utilizes secret initiations or other rituals, and members are employed to take oaths of secrecy on their activities. Please kindly subscribe to our channel if you haven't. This will enable us give you more of such videos in the future. Thank you.
And these cults, we call them the campus killer cults, the KKK, have absolutely nothing, no relation at all to genuine student fraternity, which is a normal university culture in most parts of the world, the United States, Germany, Britain, etc., etc. Some of these cults, I beg your pardon, these other so-called fraternities, were founded, you'll find, usually by children of the elite with spoiled backgrounds, children whose parents enjoyed impunity in social life and extended that impunity to their children in universities. They are the real criminals of campuses.
Cultism seems to thrive everywhere in the country, from the north to the south and from the east to the west. Not only has cultism witnessed a shift from its original ideals and purpose, its membership has left tertiary institutions and now includes artisans, farmers, traders, commercial motorbike riders, bus drivers, and a large number of skilled workers across the country. Cult activities spilled out of university campuses into the streets in the 1990s, when the government granted amnesty to university members who wanted to renounce membership after the entire country witnessed how daring and ruthless cultism had become. It all began in July of 1999 at the male hostel of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, where one of the most horrific displays of how lethal cultism had become in our school took place. Members of the student union had earlier captured some university students engaging in cult-related activities in February of that year. They were seized and handed over to the proper security agencies for investigation and judgment. The conduct of the student union government officials enraged members of the affected cult group, so they created a murder squad that cut some student union members to death while they slept, including the student union secretary general called Africa. Thankfully, a few of the targets were able to run with minor injuries. The next day, the OAU student union demanded Vice Chancellor Professor Omole's resignation, accusing him of impeding attempts to combat cultism on campus by refusing to remove the 8 cultists who had been discovered stockpiling weapons earlier. Tunde Adeniro, the then education minister, later fired Omole and ordered university officials to rid their campuses of cultists by September of 1999. Hundreds of cult members welcomed the government's gesture, with the majority formally departing their confraternity. As a result, cult-related activities and violence in schools temporarily decreased. Students and rusticated members who refused to renounce membership took cultism and its activities off campus and into their neighborhoods, believing that university campuses were no longer safe or suitable for them. For example, when the University of Lagos administration adopted a tough stand against cultism on campus, it expanded into adjacent areas such as Akoka, Bariga, Yaba, Oyingbo, and others. In the Niger Delta region, cultism spawned militancy, with several of these cults forming street and creek wings to strengthen their territorial authority in that region, which helped spread cultism outside of campus. Among those created are Big Five, Debam, Dewell, Icelanders, Greenlanders, and others. The Klansmen Confraternity formed Debam in 1991 to expand their influence into the streets and creeks of the Niger Delta region. As a result, Dewell was created as the Supreme Vikings Confraternity Street Creek Group. The SVC organized a second force, the Icelanders, led by militia leader Ateke Tom, when Dewell was unable to match Debam's power. The Outlaws, a well-known street and creek gang, began as a splinter group of the Icelanders, and they were commanded by Soboma George, former second-in-command of Ateketom. Among other things, these street creep gangs are involved in oil bunkering and expatriate kidnapping. Companies will occasionally pay them enormous sums of money as security fee. This meant that they paid one gang of these criminals to protect them from the others. Lagos is another example of a state with a significant number of cult activities, with the majority of its members being artisans, or should I say, non-university educated. Awawa Boys, Downtown Boys, Badu, Shaggy Boys, Osanle, 1 Million Boys, Ogunikoko, and 10 Million Boys are just a few examples of street cult organizations in Lagos. Areas like Munshi, Yaba, Ambukoko, Ajegunle, Ikorodu, Odogoyo, Okokomaiko, Lasso Road, Ajangbadi, Ojo, Festac, Lagos Island, Ijora, Elasamaja, Idiaraba are places prone to violent fights and revenge attacks that leave catastrophic losses of life and property in their wake. As of today, research states that there are about 50 of these brutal illegal gangs active in Nigeria. In addition to being used as errand boys by politicians and influential members of the society, notably during elections and demonstrations, and for land-grabbing activities, street cults are used to control the economic resources of their communities through violence. They make a lot of money by charging business owners, motorcycle riders, and commercial vehicle drivers security fees. Many members of street cults claim to have joined to escape oppression from other cult members, while others claim to have joined to gain financial assistance from wealthy members. In some Nigerian states, there have recently been worrying reports of cult activities spreading to secondary schools, with children as young as 7 years old being initiated and active members. It should be emphasized that over time, and as a result of the government's and college management's failed efforts to entirely eradicate cultism on campus, cultists began to reassemble on campus. This meant we now had on-campus and off-campus cultists. Please bear in mind that there are no in-depth details in these videos. Other films will be made in which we will discuss issues and themes such as problems caused by cultism in our society, why and how they attract and retain members, and how to checkmate cultism actions in our society, among other things. To be among the first to watch these videos when they are released, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. During the initial weeks of each new school year, cult groups throng campuses in an attempt to recruit new members. Academic brilliance, family history, physical appearance are among factors taken into account while recruiting new members. They are also looking for attributes like affirmation and bravery. Cult members are frequently pulled into the group without realizing the negative consequences. Intended initiates are deceived into thinking that their cult is more civil and conflict-free than others. Promises of future networking opportunities, parties, having a celebrity status on campus, and access to the best girls on campus, among other things, are used to entice people into the group. Above all, some people are tricked into joining. They are deceived into thinking that they are being taken to parties, while in fact, they are being led to an initiation ground and made to become members. In many cases, if they can't coerce one into joining the organization, and if their initial approach and offer is rejected, they resort to various forms of intimidation. They could begin by snatching one's phone, money, clothing, watch, and other valuables. If they continue to resist, they will be beaten to a pulp without committing any offense. This is done in front of peers to disgrace the one resisting joining the group.